This is Suit Up Sports.
Suit Up Sports.
Where opinions are as sharp as a tailored suit. No fluff, no gimmicks, just unfiltered, hard-hitting takes on sports and a whole lot more. It's time to suit up. Now here's your host, DJ the Suit Stout.
Welcome to Suit Up Sports. I'm DJ the Suit Stout, along with my co-host Frank Garcia, 10-year NFL vet. Frank, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Another exciting day to, recap the weekend in sports and a lot of things that are taking place currently.
Yes, it's President's Day, so happy President's Day to those of you who celebrate President's Day. I don't even know how you celebrate. Well, if you get a day off. But
yeah, I think more people are celebrating the day off than they are.
I don't think they're sitting there, baking cakes and cracking open beers to celebrate a president necessarily. But those of you that got the day off today, I hope you enjoy it.
It's a nice long weekend for sure.
No doubt. And, especially after the first weekend without football. So, you have a week to recuperate from the Super Bowl. This weekend, we talked last week about what were we going to watch now that football's over. We laid out a few things that we were kind of excited about. The Daytona 500, the
college
basketball, the Four Nations NHL tournament, which, by the way, I'll start with that. Out of all the things I watched this weekend, looking for a replacement for football, I'm not the biggest hockey fan in the world. Like, I enjoy it. I've been to the Hurricanes playoff games and there's nothing better. I mean, the adrenaline, it's great. But this tournament that they started and what the NHL did was actually brilliant, because all these major sports now, their all-star games stink. I mean, you can't really name a major sport that has a good all-star game.
Baseball would probably be the closest. But other than that,
yeah,
they're allowed to pitch 2 innings as a pitcher, things like that.
Yeah, they mix guys in and out. But baseball is at least baseball. You're throwing 98. You're still have to hit a curveball.
The physicality is 1,000,000% being taken out of the all-star sport.
Yeah, for sure. So what hockey did, which turned out to be brilliant, they said, we're going to start a tournament instead of the all-star game. We're going to have each nation. They have the 4 nations that make up, for the most part, the players in the NHL.
Finland, Sweden, Canada, and the U.S.
Correct. And so they put this tournament together, and the NHL is behind it. The league doesn't have games during this tournament, so it's been great. So if you're either in it or you're getting a nice break. But United States played Canada Friday night, was it Saturday night? And there's a lot of bad blood there. Number one, just in general. Then there's a lot more bad blood there now because Canada, and the United States are battling with President Trump, saying he's going to turn them into the 51st state and the tariffs, and they're coming back at us with tariffs. So there's a lot of bad blood there. And when the United States played the first game of this tournament last week in Canada, the Canadians booed our national anthem. So there was a lot of buildup for this game. We're the 2 best teams, Canada and United States. Both teams are full of future Hall of Famers. It's the best of the best. And I tuned into that game Saturday night, had a couple beverages. I was ready to go. Put some money on the United States to win, even money. And, they dropped the puck, and right away, guy takes his gloves off, and him and this guy from Canada start duking it out. And that lasts about a minute or two. And then they put them in the penalty box, and then they drop the puck, and boom, next guy takes his gloves off, starts fighting Canada. Put him in the penalty box, boom, drop the puck, another fight, 3 straight fights before anything happened in this hockey game. And the first 2 fights were the Kachuk brothers. They both played.
It's like a scene right out of Slapshot.
Yeah, exactly. And they both play in the NHL. They're both obviously all-stars. And their father was a great NHL player. And in 1996, I believe it was, in the Olympics, United States played Canada. Again, not much love between these teams.
There's no blood loss.
No love lost. And so their father did the same thing. When they dropped the puck, he threw his gloves off and he started fighting. So his 2 sons now, fast forward all these years later, start off this game like that. And man, that intensity kept throughout the entire game. If you don't watch hockey, and again, I'm not going to sit here and act like I'm a big hockey fanatic or that knowledgeable about hockey in general, but I do like watching it, and I've grown over the last probably 5 years to watch it even more. But man, I tell you what, just as a sports fan and somebody who loves your country, because when you put USA on your shirt, it's a whole, it doesn't matter. It could be badminton, it could be cricket, it could be who could beer bong a beer the fastest. When you're doing it for your country, something changes in these athletes for the most part. And man, that game was awesome. And United States
I would love to think what you're saying is accurate. I really do. I would love to hope that the people that live in this country love this country as much as you love this country. And what you're explaining. A lot of people go and fight for this country. I've never done that, but respect the hell out of the people that do, that stand up for this country, that defend this country, that work for the country. There's a lot of people out there that are very selfless in what they do. I'm not sure, however, all people feel the way you feel about that. I'm glad to see the hockey team did, because there was passion, there was aggression, there was competitiveness, there was love, there was bitterness. And, as an athlete, that's the aggression that you use when you're playing another team to defend or to play for your team, your country, defend your house, right? That's the old adage in all sports is protect your house.
Yep.
Right. The reason why you go on the road is a hostile environment, because you're in the enemy's territory. When you play at home, you have your support of your team, and everybody loves that. So I would hope that everybody loves and plays for the country. I just don't see it. I don't see it in other sports. I don't think football players would do it. I really don't. If there was a worldwide tournament for the NFL, I still feel like
you'd have
so much money.
You'd have a hell of a time putting any teams together from any other country.
Well, I know. I understand that. No, I understand that. I mean, it's not going to be fair.
Yeah.
Right. But if
up against China in that game, that'd be a hell of a game.
Yeah. I mean,
I would look tall in that game.
Well, I don't know. Some big.
Yao Ming.
Yeah. Right.
At quarterback.
Right? So, and there's a lot of them too. So they got a big pool.
They got a talent pool. Yeah.
I don't know if they have the size, speed, the athleticism, those types of things, but, and they definitely don't have the knowledge that we have. It's become one of our, this country's sport. But in baseball, you see it. Baseball might be the only other thing, other sports.
Yeah, baseball they do a tournament that's similar to this. They do it before the baseball season starts.
But DJ,
this is just different.
But even the NBA has gone away from that, because there's been periods of time where, the best players that we've had in this country to represent this country bowed out. And LeBron James did it twice. Steph Curry's done it before. And I know that they play a long season, and there's a lot of money for them. But to me, when you have guys that have sacrificed and are continuing, hockey players make a lot of money. Their contracts are guaranteed, but they're going out there and sacrificing. Why is that? Why is it they're willing to do it, but other teams aren't? You have more physicality in hockey
by far
than you have in basketball.
Yeah.
So I just don't feel like, unfortunately, everybody feels the way you do. And maybe I'm wrong.
Well, I think here's what I'll say to that. I mean, you're right. I think that it's always been an issue, and we use the NBA and as an example of getting the best players to come out and play in the Olympics. Now, this past Olympics last year in France, we did. All the big guys came out and played, and they were saying that was kind of hopefully a revival of U.S. basketball. And Coach K is now kind of running things with that, and hopefully they'll start seeing that. But you're right, hockey, is such a this sport. Some of the best memories that any of us that aren't huge hockey fans will remember come from stuff like the Olympics, when we're playing these other countries, whether it be the Soviet Union or Russia or Canada. So
times were so much different back then.
They were. You're right.
And the one I was going to say, we had Finland, we had Sweden, we had Canada. The one country that I would have liked to see there would have been Russia.
Well,
right? And I don't know if that's going to be eventually grow into a bigger thing.
I think
like a World Cup for soccer, right? Because that's the big event that everybody around the world. Hockey is a very popular sport in other countries, right? Just not maybe our country. And I think I don't know if it's growing or not. I think it's kind of just like a niche sport that you have in certain faction of the country because of climate, because of weather. Northeast huge, Midwest huge, but even Southwest, not much hockey out there.
Not hockey there, and even but even North Carolina, the Carolina Hurricanes who play in Raleigh, we're in Charlotte, but those fans there, you wouldn't be able to tell if they're in Boston or New York or wherever. It's the only game in town that they have from a professional standpoint. But I'll tell you right now, and I like I said, I've been to several games.
And they've had more success in this state than any other professional
no doubt.
Team that we've
They
had.
won a title.
They won a title.
I mean,
they won a title. End it right there. right?
Exactly.
They've won one, nobody else has any, right?
Yep.
I mean, hell, we're trying to get the Panthers, into back-to-back playoffs or to back-to-back
winning
seasons,
records,
back-to-back winning
records.
seasons in the history of their organization, which is going on, damn near 20 years, 22, 25 years.
The Panthers longer than that, right?
No, 25, 30 years.
Yeah, 30 years. Yeah.
It's been 30 years since we've had the Panthers have never had a back-to-back winning season. They've been to back-to-back playoffs, but the one that they went to, was a losing. They were a 7-9 team.
Yep.
And they made the playoffs. So, it's not the same, right? But in the NBA, I don't think we've ever been to the semifinals.
Hornets, no. The Hurricanes have had more success in a shorter period of time for sure. And hockey is different with that because you do have such a melting pot of different nationalities, which the NBA has now as well. But watching that game, and I'll say this, I do think that the people that watch that game, whether you were in the stands or watching anywhere around the United States, and the people I've talked to just yesterday that watched that game, and I talked to people who are on both sides of the political landscape, we all had the same feeling. We were all pumped. We were all jacked up. We loved watching that game. So I think there's certain things that kind of transcend who you voted for or you're pissed off about what this is or that is. And I think that game, it was a great example of it. And today there's 2 more games today. So if Canada beats Finland, actually the winner of the Canada-Finland game,
U.S. is automatically qualified for the finals. So they have to play the other, whoever has the most points is going to have a rematch.
It's the winner of Canada and Finland today.
Okay.
Whoever wins that game, we play Thursday night. And this time it's in Boston. So now they're coming to the United States. And for those of you, and those of you who didn't see it, the Canadian crowd booed the national anthem or the United States national anthem the first game. And the other night, the PA announcer, and the game was in Montreal, the PA announcer came on and said, hey, please be respectful, yada, yada, yada. Well, as soon as the guy started singing the national anthem, the boos came flying in. So that added more gas to the fire for a United States team that was already.
Who do you think was booing?
Well, Trudeau was at the game.
Why was Trudeau holding a sign,
Trudeau
leading the charge, saying "boo"?
Yeah, Trudeau was at the game, and he wasn't in a suite ever since he resigned.
I'm confident to say this. I'm pretty confident to say it wasn't the conservative Canucks.
No, I think it was just the again, they were looking for a reason to get even angrier at the United States. And so these other reasons, and when one person starts booing, it seemed the rest of them did. It was weird because there were other times where they cheered. So it put gas on the fire, and the United States went in there and they took care of business. And I hope Canada wins today. I want them again.
The media is pointing and playing this up, obviously, to make it, that us against them. And of course it is.
Yeah, it is.
But it's the way it should be.
Yeah.
And that's what going back to what you were saying, I was going to make a point on that earlier, and I'll finish this point after that, is that this is what sports is supposed to be about.
Mm-hmm.
Sports is not supposed to be left versus right or, Democrats versus Republicans. It's, us, right?
It's your team.
It's your team, and it's for entertainment. Right. And it takes you away from everyday life. It takes you away from politics. It takes you away from religion. It takes you away from all of these other things where you're just watching competition.
Yeah.
Right. And that's what sports is supposed to be about. And that's, I'm glad to see here in this room, because I think for the most part, we have a very good indicator with all the different factions of people we have in here.
Yeah.
We have liberals, conservatives, blacks, whites, Mexicans, rich, not so rich, hardworking, everybody.
Yep.
I mean, that's our group of friends that we hang out with. And it's good to see that everybody was arm to arm, cheering for their country.
That's it. I mean, we don't all of, everyone, your group of friends, maybe you all root for the Panthers or maybe you all root for one team, but usually we have different colleges. For instance, you and I like Duke basketball. Most of our friends are Tar Heel fans. And football, I like Notre Dame. You went to Washington. So, it's rare that your whole group is rooting for the same team at one time. Normally you've got some inside, screw you. Well, in this, it's your country. And if you can't get behind this, and like you said, locked arms, and anyone that watched that hockey game, I don't give a damn if you were a Democrat or I don't care. You were into that, especially when they started booing the United States. And I was watching the game with a few guys, And as soon as they started booing the United States,
everybody's standing up wanting to fight the TV.
Every one of us.
Yeah.
I mean, we would have been in there if we could have.
Yeah.
And then when the puck drops and our guy Kachuk drops his gloves right away, and then it happened. I mean, we couldn't believe it. We're like, wait a minute. They just start with a fight.
Yeah.
And then it happened again, and then it happened again. It was incredible. And like I said, that intensity was throughout the entire game. And
I can tell you're excited and pumped up.
Oh, it pumped me up. In Canada,
you're still pumped about it.
I am. I can't wait for Thursday. I hope we get Canada again. I hope they win today against Finland, and I hope we beat the hell out of them this time. They scored first, by the way. I mean, they were winning 1-0.
Mm-hmm.
So, they had all the momentum going, and then we kept fighting and fighting. We got an equalizer and then took the lead, and then we had a late goal at the end. But it was awesome. And you mentioned the World Cup, right? So I played soccer my entire life, playing college. So I
grew up around it. My daughter, my kids played it.
Yeah.
I've been around it since I've been 5 years old.
Right. And so it is a sport that's growing in America, but you mentioned the World Cup, and again, the World Cup's kind of like that. Like a lot of our friends who could care less about soccer, a lot of our friends who make fun of soccer, which we do too, about the guys flopping and they get touched and they fall down. But a lot of our friends you really could care less about soccer. When it comes to World Cup time, we're meeting at the bar for the United States game, or we're doing this. It becomes again something where we can all kind of lock together and say, all right, this is for our country. And that to me changes the whole landscape when it comes to sports, because like I said, instead of having 5 guys rooting for this team or 10 guys rooting for this team, now your entire room, your entire group is pulling for the.
See, here's what I the way I look at this is maybe a little different than you do when I look at sports and those type of transcending things, right? In hockey, we're all kind of arm to arm wanting to watch. Why? Because we're good, right?
Well,
because we win.
That helps,
right? We love watching the NBA, when they play in the Olympics. I don't watch any, most of the other Olympics. I don't watch any of the other basketball games until what? Until the U.S. is playing.
Yeah.
Why? Because they're good.
Yeah.
Right? They give you that sense of pride. In soccer, the reason why we don't watch is why?
Well,
because they stink.
Well,
no, it's true.
Yeah, but we still watch. I mean,
they stink.
We still watch.
We don't have the same type of pride for soccer because, in my opinion, when you're watching that game, we just don't. There's nobody to root for. We've never seen these guys grow up. There's not the talent.
There's not the tradition.
There's no tradition.
That's the difference.
There's no tradition.
Right. We don't have a tradition in soccer like we do. And I'm not trying to get into soccer right now. I'm just saying that.
No, I'm just talking sports.
Yeah,
in general.
You're right. I mean, there's not the tradition that we have in soccer, in men's soccer now, in women's soccer.
So that's the big.
Yeah. Well,
women's soccer, and that proves the point I'm trying to make.
Yeah.
Soccer, regardless of men or women, most men aren't going to be enthralled with women's sports. Sorry.
Yeah.
Just the truth.
It is.
We're not, we might watch the College World Series of softball, right? I'm not watching the women's NBA. I'm sorry. I'm just not.
Yeah.
Right? I think there's a reason why they lose money.
And
because most people
show that most men don't watch.
That's right. Most people feel the way I do about that, right? But when it comes to soccer in this country, when the men are playing, I root for them passively. I watch. I want them to do well. I get pissed off when they lose to Mexico or they lose to some third world country that we have more people in one state than they have in the entire country. But to you,
it's not an appointment. Like, you're not going, I ain't missing.
I'm not going to. No, but when the women play, I'm recording it.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Because they're good. Because they're the best.
Yep.
Right? Because they dominate, and it makes us give that sense of pride. Hockey, I feel like, is the same way. If hockey wasn't good and we didn't have the 1980 Olympics with, the Miracle on Ice, we didn't have that, we might be a little bit more reserved. This is the reason why I think a lot of people don't really watch hockey, because what you said and everything you said about hockey is true, right? They're more passionate. They love their country. They play harder.
Yep.
Their physicality in their all-star games. But when it comes down to it, we don't watch because they're not very good in other areas. Hockey, I'm gonna watch.
Yeah.
What just took place the other night, I'm watching. It's an appointment.
I bet you their ratings, even on a 100%. Thursday night, will be a lot more than even on Saturday, because anyone who didn't watch that game and saw the highlights are going, wow.
Not only
how did I miss that?
Not only I'm gonna kind of make a prediction. Not only am I gonna watch, I'm probably going to cry
if we win.
No, before the game even starts.
During the pageantry.
You know why? Because it's been so long since this country has done this, right? And that's why sports is so great, buddy, is because it gives us the opportunity to do that regardless of where we're from, when we're watching that and everybody in that building, wherever they're going to be playing, starts singing the national anthem, and it's going to overtake whoever's singing on the ice. They're going to be irrelevant because that crowd, it's going to be amazing to watch. It's like when 9/11 took place, and at all the baseball games and all the football games, and everybody's out there and they have a flyover. And it's like I still remember it.
Yep.
And it kind of still tears me up because I was there. I lived that. Yep. This is the same type of thing. That maybe thankfully something tragic didn't have to happen to bring us together, but something great is happening and it's bringing us together, at least for one night.
It is. And I'll tell you what, like I said, the game's going to be in Boston. So, anyone that follows sports knows that the Boston sports fans are a piece of work. I mean, most athletes that have to play there in any sport tell you they're the foulest, ruthless, nastiest, meanest, even more than Philadelphia, which is saying something.
I got a great story about that.
And so, now I'm hoping Canada is the team we play, because can you imagine? Even though you can sit here and say, "Hey, look,
we're rooting for Canada."
We're not rooting for, but let's not boo
there.
No,
we're rooting for Canada.
Today we are. Hell yeah.
To play for that rematch.
100%.
Yeah.
And I hope it is Canada. And if it is Canada and they have to come to Boston, which they will, to beat us the place in the championship, and like I said, you can sit here and try to tell the fans don't boo during the anthem. Let me tell you something. Those Boston fans are ruthless, and I would almost like to fly to Boston and get tickets to that game if that is the matchup, because
you think they're going to boo?
Oh, I guarantee you they're going to boo.
I think
I guarantee you they're going to boo. They're going to. I mean, listen, the Boston fans are ruthless, and after watching the first 2 United States hockey games of the Canadians booing our national anthem, there's no way they're not going to boo. And I want to sit here and try to say take the high road, and then I go, no, I don't. Screw it.
I do.
Boo the hell out of them.
Because I'll tell you why.
Boo them.
I know.
Boo them.
I listen. Trust me.
Boo them.
I might
put tariffs on them. If they buy Coke or pretzels or hot dogs, put tariffs on those. Put tariffs on cheeseburgers, peanuts, whatever the hell else you got. Make them pay extra for parking. Tariff the crap out of them, and then boo the national anthem, and then kick their butt, and then they can go back to Canada and be nice.
What do Canadians do better than anybody else? What's their brand? Fish? Is it cheese?
Hockey?
It's not
hockey?
Cheese?
And we just beat them in their best.
Is it cheese? Well, I mean, what's their import?
I have no idea.
That makes them stand out.
What's the beer? Blue
Pabst Blue Ribbon?
No, it's not. Labatt's Blue.
Labatt's Blue.
Our buddy Sean Wheeler, who played hockey for years and played, won a championship with the Charlotte Checkers, coach of Charlotte Checkers, but
their football league even sucks.
Oh, everything.
Canadian football.
They don't even know how to get the field right.
They got an extra.
They got the field goal.
They got a running start.
Yeah, they still have the field goal in the middle of the damn end zone. They're slow over there, I guess. But I hope we get them, and I hope we bury them, and I hope we do treat them like crap. And again, after the game, fine, go back. I'll watch Curse of Oak Island on Tuesday night and hope they find a treasure in Nova Scotia. I'll still, whatever it is, we got to do. But other than that, I want to whoop their butt. And I'm telling you, that game the other night, like I said, I've been to Hurricane playoff games. My wife and I had never been to an NHL game, and we went to a playoff game a few years ago. And man, like, we couldn't believe it. Like, number one, it's cold, and they've got
that was your first hockey game?
First NHL game, yeah.
Really?
And
you've been to Checkers.
I've been to Checkers, but I've not been to.
It's not the same.
Not the same.
Not the same.
We walked out of that place.
I hate to tell you though. Unless you're up in the Northeast, the passion, because I've lived in St. Louis for a while too. I was fortunate enough to know a lot of the players, and got to go in the locker room. And you don't realize how big these guys are without their pads on, things like that.
Yep.
They're like 6'2", 6'3", but when they put those skates on, they look like they're walking around like giant robots.
The pads, and then
like iRobot through there, and they're humongous.
They're big dudes.
Jeremy Pronger is like 6'6", 6'7" already.
Yep.
With those skates and the pads. He looked like he was, damn Wilt Chamberlain walking through there. So I mean, these guys are physical freaks.
They're great athletes.
And they're great athletes. And to get out there and up close, to feel that and to smell that and
just see how fast it is. Like, these dudes are moving fast.
And I think that's I can't
even ice skate.
I think what you're saying for us as Americans, there's two things going back to soccer and even hockey. Hockey is a fast moving sport, right? But the problem with hockey for TV is that it's so hard to see the plays develop and watch the puck from the angles that they have. I can't believe that hockey hasn't found the NHL hasn't found a more creative way to angle the cameras so that we can watch where the puck goes.
Well, they actually,
I mean, they have the little red line or the blue line, whatever it is.
They've actually done better now. Like this past year or so, and even the other night, because you're totally right. It was hard to keep up. But now they actually have done a better job. They also,
I'm talking about on TV for ratings.
No,
I'm not talking about, in person. It's even harder, but you don't care about that. You're there for the boos, the screams, the cheers,
party,
right? For the party, yeah.
I mean,
right.
But TV's done it. They've done a better job. They'll highlight the puck now sometimes where you can see it. But I mean, look, I think our second goal that we scored, there was like a 2-second delayed reaction in the room because we weren't sure it was in. Like,
where's the puck? Where's the puck? Yeah,
everybody. And you see our guys cheering, and you're like, "What the hell? Did we score?" And
you don't score, you don't cheer until the red light goes on the goal.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
And so, but no, I mean, hockey in general, like you said, it's a party. Like when you go there, it's kind of like NASCAR. The Daytona 500 yesterday. I watched that, and again with the pageantry of President Trump. Pulling the beast, his big bulletproof limo on there and doing 2 laps, and the talk that he gave to the drivers, and
as he's circling,
and then the flyover and Air Force One.
Where is Trump not at, by the way?
Well,
does that man sleep? He's a vampire.
It's funny you say
he's
that.
A vampire,
because they do say he rarely sleeps. But I was wondering, and who knows? Because who knows their schedule? But if Canada does win and face the United States Thursday night, would it surprise you at all if Trump's there? Like, he's got to be there.
I would bet
he's got to be there.
I would bet you a lot of money. And the sad thing about this,
he would be walking into enemy territory there too, going into Boston as a conservative president. Like, he might get booed more than Canada.
I promise you, if he walked in, they wouldn't be booed.
No, I doubt it.
I guarantee.
Not that night.
It's just like the MMA when he walked in.
Yeah.
And the whole crowd. I mean, MMA is maybe a little bit more conservative of a sport. For the following and things like that. Yeah. And Dana White's one of his best friends.
Right.
So, that underground sport that's kind of, been more popular as of late. Everybody was there cheering. But if Trump walked into Boston, I promise you, there's a lot more people that are probably in the middle that would love the fact that he was there.
Yeah. And I think there's a lot more people that probably would also do what we talked about earlier, which is, get over it. It's for the United States.
That's right.
He's our president. Let's support him right now. You don't have to like him or agree with everything he does, but he's here representing us.
He's gonna, what he's gonna get up there and do? He's gonna walk into the center ice and he's gonna say, what he's gonna say? Fight.
Yeah,
fight.
That would be great.
Fight.
If he's not there, I'll be disappointed. Yeah. And again, who knows? He could be, like you said, he travels. He's all over the place. So who knows? But
I would guess. I would bet a lot of money.
I would love for him to be there because, I mean,
he's at the. What I think Trump did, which is very smart, is he knows who his supporters are.
Sure.
Right. And the thing, obviously he's cocky as hell. There's a lot of things that I wish we could change about, the things that he does. Right. But it's not as regal as we would like it to be, as presidential as we'd like it to be. But damn it. I mean, if you're a red-blooded American and you have, any alpha in you, or if you just love this country, I mean, it's not that I'm bowing at his feet.
No, exactly. But listen, I'll give you an example. And I don't even remember what event, but it really doesn't matter. In the last 20 years, if you put any president in this situation, I'm cheering for him. And look, there was plenty of guys that I wasn't fans of. There's guys that but again, it's just, you kind of when you put your country ahead of everything else, which again, today.
Here's where I would agree with you, because Biden, there's no way in the world he would have been there.
Well, he wouldn't even know.
He might be I'm just going to say it. I'm sorry.
He wouldn't know where the hell he was anyway.
That's right. And he if we talk about leadership and the difference, you can say whatever you want about their personalities and this guy's likable, this, whatever the politics are that go with that. As far as a pure leader goes, because of what I've done, what you've done, and I'm sure people in the military that have been led know what a good leader looks like.
Oh, yeah.
A leader of men, right? And, for all the women that are listening, it's nothing against that, but there's a difference.
Yeah, there's great
women leaders as well, right? There's a lot of people that are very valuable to what this country stands for. But when you're talking about leadership and you see what that looks like, you can't fake that.
No.
There's times where Trump just understands what that feels like.
Yeah.
Right, buddy?
Right.
Versus walk right past, not have any clue.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have let Biden coach my son's Pop Warner football team
No.
because I was afraid they would be going in the wrong direction. That's just honest to God's truth.
I agree.
And I said
100%.
it 8 years ago. I support the position, but I can't support a person that doesn't have any leadership skills. There's nothing about that. Now, we'd say whatever we want about the rest of it, but
Yeah. Well,
I think that's where Trump, to me, is going to make the biggest difference for events like this and for the common red-blooded American.
yeah. I mean, there's no doubt when he shows up, it's like
Got off on a
WWE.
tangent. Sorry.
No, but it's like WWE when he shows up.
Yeah.
You know? I mean, if Biden was president, it wouldn't surprise me if Ukraine had a team in this tournament. They probably would have said, "Look,
Russia would definitely be.
we need to be in this tournament." But no,
and he would be benefiting from it somehow.
that's my point.
Yeah.
So but anyway, the hockey was just a great surprise because I was looking forward to watching it, but it from the first drop of the puck, I was just blown away. 3 fights and then we were off to the races.
Yeah.
So like I said, I hope they win today, and I hope that that Thursday night the president's there and in Boston, and it was just great. And then like I said, then the next day, Sunday, I couldn't stop talking. Everyone I was talking to was talking about the hockey game. And then I'm pumped up for the Daytona 500. My father-in-law has a big Daytona 500 party every year. He worked in NASCAR. He was a crew chief guy and actually raced against Earnhardt and Waltrip, some of those guys. But so he has a big Daytona 500 party. So we go there for that, and we're doing the pools and all those things, and race starts, and after Trump does his thing and the pageantry, and nobody does it like NASCAR. I mean, nobody does the countries, the pageantry and all that like NASCAR. Number one, they've got a 2-mile track or whatever where they can afford to do all these things with flyovers and fireworks and motorcycles jumping ramps and all the stuff they do. No one does it better.
Was Evel Knievel there?
Well, I mean, if he was, that would be a hell of a story to break because I think he's been dead for about 20 years.
There's got to be other.
His son passed away too.
Yeah,
but they have replicas. Yeah, they've got guys that do that.
I mean, we clone people now.
Yeah, they've got guys that dress similar and jump motorcycles. But the
Evel Knievel 8.
Yeah, well, yeah, like Ugg the dog, like the mascot at Georgia. Yeah, they're on like the 30th one now.
Exactly. Yeah, I mean, if you can clone, these dogs and make these dogs, 8, 9, and 10, and you make 8 Rockies, you can, damn near.
I mean, I don't know
Evel Knievel.
I would think Evel Knievel would be down the list of people.
Rocky's 100 years old, still fighting.
It's true. I wouldn't want to mess with his ass, but yeah. So the race starts, and you're excited, and everybody's fired up, and then bam, I think it's 3 years in a row in Daytona. Within the first, 45 minutes of the race, hour of the race, here comes the rain.
Yeah.
And then you sit there for 4 hours.
No momentum.
And I'm watching the broadcast, and those guys are having, they're doing the best
trying
they
to
can.
fill air.
They're interviewing every driver and just trying to hope that they are on the air live when the race is ready to come back. Finally, they had to go to last year's race. But anyway, the race finally came back on last night. And I don't know
at what time.
It came back. I think it came back on around 6.
What time was it supposed to start at?
1:30.
1:30. That's what I thought.
It started at 1:30, and then there was the delay.
I turned it on probably around 1:45, 1:50, maybe closer to 2, hoping to see cars in line and getting after it and things like that. Just so I could get in the mood.
Yeah.
We have a little pool to kind of gather interest.
Yep.
And then when I turned it on and saw them talking about that and going in circles and interviewing this person, I'm like, are they just starting the pre-race? I didn't really know exactly what time it was supposed to start. So I'm like, okay, let me keep going. And then I knew it was a weather delay. I'm like, I'm out.
Yeah,
I'm out.
And I'm sure most people were. And then whether they
watch
come
it again
back or not. And, there's nothing you can do. Look, the weather's the weather. But Daytona, God, it just seems like every year you're dealing with that rain. And the drivers are kind of even alluding to how frustrating it is because everybody's at a fever pitch. You just had the president drive around the track, the flyover with Air Force One, the driver announcements. This is the first race of the year. It's the biggest race of the year. It's their Super Bowl. And then,
why don't they let them race in the rain? Didn't they used to?
Well, they can to a certain point, but on that track in particular, when you're going that fast, man, they're not playing.
Slow down.
Well,
I mean, the
who wants to watch that?
Racers, no.
You can watch a short.
I want to see guys. What do you watch NASCAR for? The same reason you watch hockey.
Well,
be honest.
No. You're obviously, especially a race like Daytona. You're waiting for the big one.
You don't want guys to get injured or hurt, but you absolutely want to see reps.
No doubt. I mean, even on the race last night, Daytona, those big tracks are no huge wrecks in the last 10, 20 laps. And so you really could not, we say this about NBA basketball, NASCAR on a race like that, you really could just start watching with 30 laps left and have just as much fun.
I would rather watch it when it's raining or if there's muddy and going through the conditions.
Well, and this
slow. What do you when you're driving on the freeway and it starts raining? What do you have to do?
Dude, me driving on the freeway, and even though I am a damn good driver, and I go fast, you say I make you car sick when I drive you.
It's not because you go fast; it's because you stop and start.
Well, you just said you want these guys stopping and starting. Nobody wants to watch that.
No, but I want to see them race.
Well, the racing happens when they can go 200 miles an hour.
It can also happen when they're going 180
each other's.
It can happen at 180 too if they're slowing down, or 170.
Yeah, I don't know
if it's raining.
I don't know the technical reasons as to why
because of injury concern.
No, but I'm saying I thought the same thing. Like, why couldn't they race in some of this rain? Obviously not when they can't see. And the other problem yesterday too is there was 30-mile-an-hour wind, so there was part of and
put windshield wipers on.
Well,
I have to drive in that.
But I'm not talking about that. Like if you watch I thought that too. Why don't they have windshield wipers on? They would probably get ripped off going 200 miles an hour. But in the last 20 laps of the race, here we go. The wrecks start happening, right? You know what's going to happen. And you have certain guys coming. Logano had a problem, got put to the back. He had the best car. Ricky Stenhouse was in the back. He had a fast car. Here they come. And you just know now they're going 3 wide. Guys are getting more aggressive, and it's coming. So, yeah, everyone's – and Fox even had a graphic before, like, the last 20 laps that said the big one. Is it coming? So they're promoting it too, right? And there's a driver
Didn't they do Daytona in sections?
They do all the NASCAR races. They do that now.
They've made it into quadrants.
They do it in stages. So you have
stages.
You have a first stage, and then you have a second stage, and then the last stage.
Do you like that? I don't necessarily like.
As of right now, I'm indifferent.
I like it. I like it for the All-Star race where they give $1 million for this section, and then okay, who's going to be the best at this, and then who's going to be the best at that.
You do get points and all that for winning yours. So each stage is important, but I don't know. Here's the deal. Like I said with NASCAR. I'm totally fine getting there for the last stage. You see what I'm saying? Like, I'm not making an appointment to be there for the first lap.
Let me ask you this. Do you think it's too long?
I would say a race like yesterday's, you're
how long does the race last?
You're invested. Well, I mean, hell, with the delays, yesterday's forever. But that race normally,
a typical race
of that race would, I would say, be 3 hours if everything went the way you wanted to.
Is that nonstop?
No, that's
racing?
with the stage.
That's with the stages. So my suggestion,
maybe a little longer.
My suggestion would be take the stages away, take the laps down, and let these guys be more aggressive early on, so that you keep people involved. What's the purpose of racing? 500 laps or 250 laps.
I think, and again, I don't know the probably correct answer. I would guess this: NASCAR also, especially now in NASCAR, more than any time ever. I saw an interview with Denny Hamlin where he was saying that Dale Earnhardt and Dale Earnhardt Jr. could not race these days in these super speedways because NASCAR now has become. Strategy has always been a part of the game, right? You've always had to save your fuel and all that.
Not anymore.
Well, no, it still is 100%. It is. Like you see guys.
You got stages.
Yeah, but
I'm done.
Even those stages are long enough to where you still have to make
the tires and you make pit stops.
You have to make decisions. Like yesterday, the first maybe 15 laps, you could see the guys were like halfway on the throttle because they know they have to.
But you've definitely.
But the thing that's changed it is teams. That's totally changed the game now. So, and like I said, I saw this interview with Denny Hamlin, and he's not the only one.
There's no way to team up.
Well, no. If you don't have a team, you're screwed.
Yeah.
So,
because you can get blocked out.
So like last night,
right.
Last night, the Toyotas were running well, and Ford at the end. And so, if you didn't have a partner to help push you,
it's just like cycling.
You're done.
Yeah, I don't know if you know much about cycling.
I don't know anything about cycling.
But when you watch,
I know that I get mad when they make me, have to go 10 miles an hour for about 2 miles.
So take NASCAR and put it into the Tour de France. There's just a lot more stages on the Tour de France, right? But teams usually do exactly what you're talking about. They team up, they bunch up, they block, they support, they lead, their pacers, whatever it might be. with their team so that they go out. Same thing in NASCAR.
I mean,
you can draft off of somebody for a little bit to save
if you don't
gas.
have a teammate, and for instance, if you're running up in the top, let's just say 3 or 4, and you're up there with 2 or 3 dudes that have, are teammates or same manufacturer, you're done.
You're done.
You
have
done.
No chance.
And so last night,
you wreck somebody.
Well, and last night, Logano comes all the way up. He's got the fastest car. And then, he tries to squeeze in a hole that maybe wasn't there. It could have been his fault. Could have been Stenhouse's fault. Regardless, huge wreck. And
they took one for the team.
Well, he was trying to win. He knew.
Of course, he's trying to win.
Like, I'm trying to get through.
But his team, the other guy's team, is trying to block him off. Let him. And if you're behind me, right, just like anything else, I'm doing everything I can to stay in front of you.
And I mean, like I said, it's become a huge part of your strategy. So that's why even like there's other teams that now are even adding drivers to their team just because they know they can't win on certain tracks if they don't have.
What do you think Dana Patrick was for? Go out and wreck somebody.
Yeah, well, but here's what I was.
That's what she
I mean, I don't know if she was told to do that. That's just what she did.
Yeah.
I don't know if she was on purpose. But
she'd be a hell of a teammate. Go out there and wreck the whole field and let my guy get in front.
But it's hard to wreck people when you're in 41st place.
Yeah, right.
But the in that wreck yesterday, though, talking about the big one and why we watch. There's a driver named Ryan Priest, and I hope I'm saying his name right, but young guy. And last year he was in one of the most horrific wrecks you've ever seen in NASCAR. It was same race, Daytona 500. His car, I think it rolled at least 15 times. And, due to the safety that NASCAR has now put, I mean, these cars are so safe. Yeah. I mean, these cars
are buckled in.
Oh man,
you're not moving.
And he got out uninjured. Well, last night when that wreck happened with Logano and Ricky Stenhouse, all of a sudden you see this car, number 60, and I'm not kidding. I've never seen this, and the announcer said they've never seen it either, as did the other drivers. You see this car, number 60, which is Ricky Priest, same guy that flipped last year. You see his car take off, and I'm not kidding. It looked like a rocket ship. It was like literally the whole front of the car was up in the air, and he was taking off. He caught wind. And then the wind got the bottom of it, and then he flipped again. It was another horrible accident. And so, he thankfully again he was okay. And then the race, the Will Byron. Then at the end of the race, the last lap, there was a wreck that allowed Will Byron to win the race 2 years in a row. Charlotte kid, went to Country Day, but he was just kind of struggling all race. He'd be back in the 20s, then he move up, but he was in the right place at the right time. Denny Hamlin and Cendric and those guys wrecked, and he just managed to slip right by and win the race. And so it's crazy, but you're right. That's why I said you can forget the stages or how they do the beginning of the races. And the bottom line is you don't need to watch a race unless you're diehard. My father-in-law, Ted, will sit there and he will watch every race. It could be 3 kids racing tricycles down the road. He's watching it.
Oh yeah.
But guys like us who I like NASCAR. I've always been a NASCAR guy. Guys now that are gambling on racing, you really doesn't matter about the stages. Tune in for the last 20 laps and you're going to get 20 laps of adrenaline. You're going to see if you win your bet, see you won the race. So the stages to me don't really matter.
What do you get for the stakes? I'm a amateur novice when it comes to this, and I'm learning as we're going because I'm in this pool with you guys.
Yeah.
So I want to at least kind of have an understanding of what I'm rooting for. Is it points? Is it just wins only? Well, because if it's just for wins only, then none of the race matters.
Right. You
watch for the last 5 minutes.
And our Lodge League is just who wins.
Yeah.
So,
but in NASCAR,
every stage counts and you get points and there's all these different things.
So for as many laps as you lead,
laps led matters. Yep. Winning a stage counts. Yep. So a driver has to, they have to compete the whole time.
I think it's really unfair that a guy leading, say you're running 300 laps, for a guy leading 298 of them or 299 of them, and the other guy comes from 22nd place because there's an accident and one of the clips the guy in first place and knocks him off, and the guy in 20th comes and wins.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty unfair.
Well, you do. You get points for laps led and most laps led and winning a stage and things like that. But it's funny, and I think we talked about this last week. I would hate to be in these races nowadays. Being first or second, the last few laps is almost don't want to be, because these dudes, this is what I was telling you how NASCAR to me is coming back, but it's coming back a little more now like it used to be. I can't remember a race that's been tight where somebody didn't wreck the guy in the lead. Like it happens almost every race now. If you're winning the race and somebody's on your butt, you're probably going, God darn it, what lap is it going to be when he's going to wipe me out? Because they wreck them. And last night it happened twice. And so, and these drivers get so mad, which I don't blame them, but that's kind of the new NASCAR, which is what we wanted. We want to see guys fighting each other. We want to see people. Last night,
I don't want to see guys going out there and intentionally wrecking guys because they can't beat them, though.
Well, they're wrecking them because, and they're not going to even say they're wrecking them, right? They're going to say, well, I might have got into him a little bit, or he came down on me, or my car got loose, But the bottom line is, I mean, it happens damn near every race. If you're in first place, you better have a damn nice lead, because if you've got cars on your butt and they're not your teammates, or they're not your manufacturer, and they're trying to get you, you're done. I mean, it happened almost every race I watched last year. But again, that adds to the suspense for it, especially if, like for you, you're watching these races now, just trying to get back into NASCAR. So you don't know all the drivers. Hell, I'm still getting familiar with some of them. So if we have a guy on the race that, like Stendrick last night.
I'll give you a couple of problems I have with NASCAR, and that's one of them, which is what you're alluding to right now, is that you don't know any of these drivers. Why? Because there's no college. There's no farm system. There's no, I mean, they might race in, the truck series or different series.
Yeah, their farm systems, we're not watching.
Yeah, we're not watching, those series to see who's the up and coming driver.
Xfinity, yes, but
we wait for them to get to the stage, and we might watch 10 laps, right? We might watch 20 laps. NASCAR doesn't relate to TV, and yesterday is a perfect example of that, because one mishap with a little bit of rain and you're done. So they have to figure something out.
I mean, whenever you have an event that, and I'm in the music festival business, whenever you have an event that weather can ruin your event, it's just a risk you take. With NASCAR, there's no other, I mean, there's nothing you can do. You can't put these cars inside of an arena and race them. I mean, you could, but it wouldn't be, how
why wouldn't be?
You put it, well, I'll give you an example. They did the LA Clash a few years ago to start they did it 2 years in a row. I went out to the first one. They did it at the LA Coliseum. And so
guess what it doesn't do in LA? Rain. Doesn't rain in California.
Well, you could do it in certain areas.
It doesn't rain in Arizona. It doesn't rain in Texas. In certain parts of Texas. Houston, it rains almost all the time. But
yeah,
you can take these races to places.
You could, but you don't want to take the race. I mean, look, it doesn't rain in the desert, but no one's coming to the desert to watch the race. I mean,
these rednecks will travel anywhere.
Well,
you're crazy.
I don't know. I mean, I'm about as red as a redneck gets, and my ass ain't driving out to the desert to go see it.
You would make it it would be a hell of a party.
I'd drive to the desert to see this USA Canada game.
You would do that. If they had a race, and if you were avid about it, and you spent all your hard-earned money, and you had one of your guys that was going out there to race, and this was the first race of the season, you drive your ass to the middle of
but the 15th race of the season, the 16th race of the season. I mean, it's not conducive to you don't want to bring now. You're
not televising all those. This is your all-star race. In the last 2 years that they've run it, there's been weather conditions. Either they have to learn how to race in the rain, slow your ass down. Right, because you're still going to have accidents, still going to have wrecks, from what you're saying. Right? Yeah. You're just not going to be going as fast, and your skill level is going to have to increase. So now you're putting more emphasis on the skill level for these cars in racing in the rain. Then as long as from everything I just heard, it's safe.
Well, I don't know if
a guy just went 100 miles in the air and flipped 14 times twice.
Yeah,
no injury.
Well, no doubt the cars are safe. But what I'm saying though is I don't know. For instance, I'll give you an example, because you're right. Like, they got to figure something out. I don't know what the solution is. I don't know if there's a solution. However, driving in the rain would be a solution. I don't know if maybe.
I want to see them driving in the snow.
Well, then they'd have to. I don't know.
They'd have to figure out.
But that's something they could do, I guess. Is if it rains, could they then? And again, we're two novices talking about this. So those of you who know NASCAR,
we're the rednecks of the rednecks.
Those of you that know NASCAR,
please,
y'all are probably
please forgive us.
Talking about. Yeah, they don't know what the hell they're talking about.
Racing in the rain.
I mean, you're right. I mean, I can change a tire and that's about it. But maybe they could.
You can't change no damn tire.
I mean, I can call AAA.
No way.
I can call AAA.
You can call AAA.
I've changed a tire. I changed a tire last year on my truck. I was on the way to a golf tournament
You don't even know
that I won.
You don't even know where the jack is.
I didn't, but my friend, my buddy Patrick,
Your friend changed the tire.
My buddy,
you led. Say, hey,
my
okay,
buddy
do this.
Patrick O'Connor knew where it was, and we figured it out.
Patrick changed the tire.
I helped him, but yeah, Patrick did the bulk of the work.
You told Patrick what to do.
Well, he told me what to do. I didn't know what the hell was going on, but yeah, so but maybe they could if they know it's going to rain, they should get a free pit stop and be able to put different tires on or whatever the case may be. But it will be interesting to see what. And again, I don't know. For instance, even at 180 miles an hour, I don't know if there's a tire you can put on.
But I don't know. I don't know what the speed limit is, which would be where they're not sliding and doing all this. They have to figure that out, just like you do. When you're driving in the rain, if you're turning, you might slip, right? So you have to do what? Slow down, be a little bit more cautious, right? It's going to reward the people that have the ability to.
I just don't know if that's fun to watch. Like, I don't want to watch these guys. I want to watch them going 200 miles an hour. So if they do have a wipeout everywhere,
they'll be tired.
I don't want to watch them going 80 miles an hour. Like,
what? They're not driving Miss Daisy around. These guys are trained drivers in machines that go 250 miles an hour.
I would be interested to ask, and this is something I'll do this week. And you and I both know NASCAR guys
very well.
Yeah, I would be interested to know what a driver's thought would be about, number one.
I'm going to call Denny. I'll call Denny after the show.
I would love to know, because I would love to know, number one, what their thoughts on driving in the rain would be. And number two, is it possible to and still be entertaining? Like, some of these guys might go, dude, you're crazy. Even going 130 miles an hour in that rain, we would wipe out. We could hit a wall.
They've been driving in the rain their entire life,
but not at this speed, not with 40 other cars doing the same thing.
Have you ever driven on 485 in the rain?
I have.
And how many cars are on there?
Normally, you're going about 10 miles an hour.
There's some going 10. 100 there's some going 10, and there's other ones going how fast?
Not 100, not 180.
No, maybe not 180.
Not 150. Not 120.
Okay, maybe
not 100.
But they have to figure that out. How fast can we go?
Well, but like I said, you have to remember this. A few things. Number one, you have to make sure that this as well as anybody, ratings, right? So it has to be compelling to watch, number one. Number two, you've also got this equipment that costs millions and millions of dollars. So they're not wanting to beat this equipment. I mean, there was guys that were on their second cars in the Daytona 500 already. So, they'd already banged up one car.
Cry me a river that the millionaires have to spend, $100,000 to fix their car.
I'm not saying cry me a river. What I'm saying, though, is as a business, it costs a lot of money to put up a race team. So
did they lose more viewers yesterday by not racing and not coming back because of the delay that took all damn day? I didn't come back. I'm a casual fan.
Yep.
Unless you were an avid person watching that race, you're turning that out and never coming back. If you were racing during all that, guess what I'm doing? I'm watching.
Well, I don't think the thing about NASCAR, though, really any sport, the people that came back to watch when the race came back on, for the most part, are the diehard fans, and that's where they get their ratings from. Now, on a day like yesterday, the casual guys like come in, like
they're getting their normal fan base where they're looking for, just like anybody else. The NFL is going to Mexico and Europe to get more, so they can make more. Just like the NASCAR, if you're trying to just be where you're at, then don't put it on TV. Be where you're at. If you're trying to gain me as a follower and a NASCAR person that wants to watch the biggest race that's televised and everything, and Trump's there and everybody's hooting and hollering.
It was certainly a letdown when they raced. I think it was 9 laps.
And I don't want to see it every week. But damn it, for a big event like that, you have to do something.
Yeah, I like I said, I don't know.
I don't know, and I don't even know if that's the right answer.
They could do it because they do the 24-hour races and all those things where they do race in the rain. Now, I don't know.
They race in the mud?
I don't know the difference between the tires and the setups and all that stuff.
They have to figure that out.
But what I'm saying, though, is I don't even know in the NASCAR how it would be possible. And like I said, that would be interesting to talk to a driver. Like number one, is it possible? Number two, what would it look like? Number three, would you want to do it? Because they may say, hell no, man, we'd be sliding all over the place. It'd be awful. You wouldn't be able to race.
You have to get different tires.
20 laps. 20 wrecks.
What do you think the guys that are racing on the dirt tracks think?
But they know they're doing that.
Okay.
They're set up.
Okay, so set your car up differently. Just like when I play football and I'm playing on a field of turf, I'm going to use certain shoes, right, which are tires. When I go play on grass, I'm going to use certain shoes, which are tires. If I go play on ice where it's snowing and the ground is hard as shit, I'm going to play on a different I'm going to use different tires. I have different tires that I'm going to use as an athlete. That, yeah, when it snows and when it's like, I can't go.
I don't know the technical side of this, but I would just think that a car that weighs as much as a NASCAR weighs.
Have you seen some of these NFL players?
Fast? Well,
Jordan Davis.
I've never seen him move this fast. I haven't seen him move this fast. And like I said, it may be just as simple as that. It just, there's not a tire that you can put on these things. I'll give you another thing. Humpy Wheeler, when he was wanting these guys to start fighting more, this is probably 10 years ago, 15 years ago, when everyone was wanting more.
When you say fighting more, he was looking for more competitiveness. He was looking for the asshole that everybody hates, that people are going to say, I want to beat him because he's a jerk and he doesn't care about anybody himself.
Yeah, and the guys that you wreck me, then you're going to see him fight.
Who was the guy that drove the M&M car? That's who I'm talking about.
Kyle Busch.
Everybody hated Kyle Busch.
Ironically, has never won the Daytona 500. And last night he was running like third when the last wreck happened and took him out. So he can't get.
If he was racing in the rain, he might have won it.
Well, if there was one driver, and I'm not a Kyle Busch guy, but if there's one driver that I would guess could drive in the rain, he'd probably be the one.
Who's the craziest SOB out here that's going to take the chances and make the moves? Because now, instead of relying on these big machines with these teams, it takes what into consideration? My skill.
I would be interested to see the other piece of it is in the rain that might be an issue would be the danger on pit row when these cars coming in wet and the guys in there having to do all the work on the tire.
They have speed limits that they have to go through in pit row.
Still, man, people get hurt on pit row when it's dry.
That's going to happen regardless. That's part of the risk.
We're going to research this. You call Denny. I'm going to call a couple guys. I'm going to call Marty Smith from ESPN, who knows a lot about that. Because you're right. I'm curious because a lot of the drivers in their interviews.
Because what I'm saying makes sense.
It does make sense. I'm not saying you can drive in the rain. I don't know.
I don't know that either.
If you could, then absolutely. Having a delay for that long on your Super Bowl stinks. And it's the only sport. I mean, baseball.
That's a great point. Imagine you remember the Super Bowl when we were watching New Orleans. It was in New Orleans. I don't remember who was playing. Gosh, it might have been the Falcons and the Patriots. I can't remember who was playing in the Super Bowl, but right at halftime, right after halftime, or right before halftime, it went pitch black. Right? Football, with that event, that's that is the Super Bowl. This is NASCAR's Super Bowl. Yep. They fixed the lights and they got back on. But it's easier to fill air when that happens, I think, in football because of the stories, and people are in the backstories and things like that. In NASCAR, if that would have lasted, if that football event would have happened, that the lights going out for 5 hours, right?
Oh, it'd be a disaster.
It would be a disaster, right? It would be an absolute disaster. First off, everybody's going to go to bed because they don't play it till 6:30 at night.
Right.
Right. So if it comes back,
the Daytona 500 last year, I believe it was last year or the year before, one of the last 2 years, they finished it on a Monday.
So I
thought that was going to happen again. I'm thinking they're going to have to finish this thing on Monday, which is fine because it's President's Day and they can do it. But if it was not President's Day and it was just a regular Monday, they don't want to do that. Same with golf tournaments. Right. You see some of these big, you don't want to finish a major on a Monday.
Cole over here did it on May 24th, about 5-6 years ago. It rained like hell.
Yeah. I mean,
and they delayed it to the next day. And it was whatever the next day was, like Labor Day. It was the kids had the day off on that Monday. Nobody had to work.
Yeah. So,
we ended up watching it. And going back to the race, they gave everybody their money to go back to the ticket. That had a ticket, you go back and watch it. It was filled, right? And it was a great event. All right, either make that decision, but to delay it 6-7 hours, and it's not their fault. I'm not blaming them, but I'm wanting to know the reasoning and the rational thinking behind why
they don't drive in the rain.
That drive in the rain, because again, we're ignorant. Naive.
Yeah, I mean, you would think you could put a rain tire on there, but like I said, they use different tires in the first place anyway, and there's so many different things that go into all that.
Tires. You can make every excuse and all the things that they do. There's ways that people drive in the rain. We see it every day.
There's ways that people drive in the rain, but not when they're driving that fast.
Maybe they can do it. Then slow your ass down.
Well, why don't you just take them out of the car and let them race around the track with their legs?
We just
take the car. They can run in the rain.
Guess what? We talked about
line them up at the starter line and let them just race each other.
If it was competitive and they were allowed to trip each other, right? And who's going to last long? I'm watching. Right? People watch people chase cheese down hills because it's competitive. They want to see who gets down there fastest.
Well,
am I wrong?
Well, I mean, listen, if
they drop that big thing of cheese down the hill, and you have all these people
wheel of cheese
running like hell, tripping over each other, diving, and running like madmen, chasing that cheese down the hill. You don't think that they're not going to watch people run around a racetrack if it was competitive?
I just think that if there's a way to have done it, I can't imagine why NASCAR would not have figured that out. I mean, these guys have institutes where where kids go to school to become NASCAR crew chiefs or work in the garage or whatever it is. They've got very, very smart minds that are working, whether it be a car setup.
Maybe they don't.
How the hell? No, they do. They totally do. So
maybe we're smarter than them.
Yeah, well, yeah. There we go.
We're asking a question. Why has that question never been asked?
Well, and yesterday what was interesting was they interviewed damn near every driver during this break, right? They had all day. They were trying to do whatever they could. And a lot of the drivers were frustrated, and you could tell that they were walking a fine line there. Nothing about driving in the rain. That was never mentioned. But they were saying that it just stinks that we had this great build up with the president, and it's the first race.
There's a lot of momentum
here, and then we go, done. And now everyone's going to sit here not knowing when the race is going to be back. Dale Jr. Actually tweeted, probably an hour before they even started the race again. He was like, dude, the rain's gone. Let's go, And
they want to race.
They want to race. Now, again, it would be interesting to see about the rain. Like, again, if going that fast, is the rain drops, is there even a windshield wiper that would even let them be able to see clear enough? I mean, when you're going, this, when you're going in the rain fast, your windshield wiper sometimes can't keep up. When you're going 150.
We just talked about the smartest men in the world.
I don't know if
that create all these things for the cars. I'm pretty damn sure they're going to be able to make a windshield that can knock water off.
Just because there's smart guys in the world don't mean that there's a solution for everything. I mean, I'm bald. There's a lot of smart guys in the world. Where's my,
they have them.
Well,
it's called hair extensions, or
well,
you can do what Dom Caber, put the weaves in there.
Luckily, my head is shaped for baldness, but just because somebody's smart, there might not be a solution. There's
always a solution.
I don't know for this, and I want to know what it is. I'm literally
whether we like the solution is different.
Well, yeah, I mean, a solution could be they can't go faster than 10 miles an hour, but I'm telling you, nobody's watching that.
Okay,
nobody's watching it
anyway.
Nobody's watching NASCAR to watch these dudes not go fast and to not be aggressive.
Now, look, the rain, to be competitive.
Where I will agree with you is this: if they figured out a way to race in the rain and they were still racing fast, and they were still, in other words, let me put it this way, where it doesn't affect the product. So you're not going to do anything to an NFL game that would risk the product.
The product already sucks in NASCAR.
In your opinion, there's a lot of people that love it. I like
in America's opinion.
No, I mean, NASCAR makes money. They make a lot of money.
They do.
They make a ton of money.
But the ratings would suggest
their ratings were down. They're climbing back up. I think a lot of that is because of the youth that they've injected, as well as the way that they're kind of letting these guys get away with stuff. The TV ratings for a while took away the radio ratings, and then the TV ratings.
They almost canceled NASCAR 10 years ago.
No, NASCAR was never close to being canceled.
It was very close to being.
Never.
They were trying.
Never.
They had for Christ's sakes, they had a damn gopher that would pop up every 5 laps.
That's TV production, dude. That's just them trying to keep you interested.
They're trying to create.
But NASCAR's not. I mean,
ratings.
Look at the side of these cars and look at the companies that are on these cars and the companies that have been on these cars for 20, 30, 40 years. Now, there's a lot of money in NASCAR. NASCAR was never close to going out of business. Hell, that would take. Now, there's teams that go out of business, that aren't successful, or they lose a sponsor, because it is a fine line. Look, you lose your big sponsor, and you're one of these smaller teams. If you're Rick Hendricks, you're never.
He's not making his money because of NASCAR. He's making his money because he sells cars.
Well, he's making his money because of both. That's why he's got so much money.
No,
he's made
spending his money. He's spending his money on NASCAR, and he gets sponsorships, and Hendricks Motorsports gets worldwide recognition because of that.
He makes plenty of money in NASCAR. Now, selling cars is where he started his money. He still makes a lot of money there, but he makes plenty of money. The successful teams in NASCAR make money. That's not an issue. What I'm saying, though, is that if you do dampen the product, and you could sit there and go, well, hell, it's better. I'd rather watch them drive in the rain than watching MASH
interviews,
or watching MASH reruns because they're not racing.
Right.
And I think that's a valid point that most people would say, yeah, but if the race if they're going to get out there and it's not enjoyable to watch, then what's the difference? I mean,
Why
I'd rather
wouldn't that
them
be
wait
enjoyable?
until it's going to be fun. Last night, I watched, the end of that race.
Going 150, 160, racing next to each other. There's going to be crashes.
I don't know if they can in the rain. That's what I would want to know, because if they can race in the rain, then I don't understand what the hell's taking them so long to do it. It's not like this is the first time.
So now you're on my side.
No, I'm on your side if they could do it. I don't understand. My only theory is, if they could do it, why haven't they done it?
That's your question. It's not a
question. And they've let them race when it's sprinkling outside. Yesterday, the rain for a while there didn't even seem like it was that hard.
That's all
when they took them off.
I'm just asking questions.
But I would just like to know if they could do it. I don't understand why they wouldn't.
I'm asking questions.
But I know they're not going to do it if it's not safe for the driver. That's number one. And that would be what I think would be the answer as to why they haven't done it.
Driving 220 miles an hour is safer than driving in the rain at 150.
I mean, look, those cars stay on the track pretty strong.
That was your rationale. That's the rationale you just
But
used.
with the tires they use, those tracks,
tires, just like I have to change my tires.
It's the tires, it's the windshield, it's the pit road. There's a lot of stuff.
You're talking about that. You just 20 minutes ago you start talking about the most creative, smart guys in all sports. Are these scientists that are generating these machines, right? And they have all the smart and technology. I'm pretty sure they have a windshield wiper that can figure that out.
Well,
they go click on.
I don't know. I mean, look,
turn
even when their windshield wiper, even when their windshields get dirty, I don't know if you know, but they've got like 4 or 5 different layers of plastic as their windshield. So when they pull into a pit, one of the guys on the pit crew rips this piece of plastic off, and now but if it's raining, that ain't gonna help. So you'd have to have some type of windshield. I mean, again, I don't know.
I mean, they're wiping that off because of all the rubber and the dirt that's on.
That's my point. But that ain't gonna work with rain. Like, you couldn't put Rain-X on the damn windshield and think that the rain's just gonna magically disappear and these guys are gonna be able to see clearly. It's hard enough to see that damn thing when it's not raining. Well, but if it's raining, it doesn't matter if you rip it off or not. It's my point. You got to have something that's keeping it off while you're driving.
Yeah, your windshield wipers.
Yeah, I don't know if that would. Listen, if what you're saying worked, I think everyone would give you 100% vote. Hell yeah, race in the rain. If you can do it, and they're telling you it's safe, do it. There has to be a reason they're not. Is what I'm saying.
I want to know.
And the drivers,
I have questions.
I do too. Like I said, now
I want answers.
I can tell you right now, we're going to go to break. I'm making a couple phone calls. I got you thinking. Well, yeah, because if they could do it, of course it'd be great. But I want to be a reason.
I want to sit in on the damn race committee.
Well, that would be hilarious. I've sat in on some drivers meetings before.
I want to sit on the race committee.
That would be fun to have you in there.
Why in the hell can't you?
Especially telling these dudes to be driving in the rain and you do it at 45 and yeah. Well, I would love to see that. Maybe we can set that up. We're going to take a break. We're going to make a few phone calls here and see if we can get any answers on these questions. And we'll be right back. Talk a little more NASCAR, probably. College basketball this weekend.
Great games over the weekend.
Yep. NFL stuff coming with the draft and free agency. So we'll be back right after this.
It's time to suit up. Here's your host, DJ the Suit Stout.
Welcome back to Suit Up Sports. I'm DJ the Suit Stout, along with Frank Garcia. We were both working our phones diligently there during the break, trying to reach out to some of our NASCAR connections. I got a hold of my father-in-law, Ted Kennedy, who was a crew chief in NASCAR and knows his stuff. And Frank got a hold of
Steve Letard,
a couple guys.
Yep.
Yeah. And honestly, it sounds like they are both kind of saying the same thing as to why they don't race in the rain on these fast tracks it's a safety issue, which is what we thought, whether it's the traction or the vision, because they do race on the short track, on the road tracks with rain tires. So,
they did it a couple months ago, or a couple of races ago.
Last year. Yeah, last year they did it.
And they've been experimenting with it, but ultimately they just don't have a tire good enough yet for them to feel safe putting them out there, and
the visibility, because that's a big part of it too.
None of these guys said anything about the visibility.
Well, I mean, Ted did.
Yeah, I mean,
he said that would be an issue. And then the part that I know shrug off, but then the cost is an issue.
Yeah.
For these teams. It is because we were talking about how much money these teams make, whatever. There's some teams that are barely getting by, and there's some teams that rock it. But
some guys have more benefits than others, and that's just life right there. But you're going to make millions of dollars, and you're going to benefit from that. Then give the fans what they want. And they want to see competition. They want to see a race. If it came down to a safety issue,
which is what it is.
They said they
as of now,
they had to slow it down, is what they all said. They never said it was, there was going to be something they couldn't do. It was going to be, doing it for as long. So they'd have to have more pit stops, is what they would have to do.
But and then the visibility, and then also the fact of the matter of which we talked about is how slow are they going to go? Because with those tires, it slows your car down. Is it going to be, like I said, when you're watching these super speedways, you're there to watch them go fast, and you're there to watch the chance of the big wreck. You don't want to watch a race at Daytona when these dudes going as fast as they possibly can. Now, here's a question.
I'd rather watch that than a commercial.
Well, here's a question: is this, would an avid NASCAR fan, rather wait 4 or 5 hours or to the next day possibly to watch the race and watch these guys race like they can and go 200 miles an hour, whatever? Or would they, assuming that let's say NASCAR came out with these new tire packages and this new crazy windshield that lets you see.
You don't have to have a crazy windshield. Just put wipers on, whatever. And drive.
Yeah, but that wipers, we even heard Ted say, when you're going that fast, hell, you can go down the highway at 10 miles an hour when it's pouring down rain.
There's not the same type of wipers, bud, and there's no aerodynamics.
What kind of wipers are you thinking they're going to have? Like snow shovels? Like,
new one.
What's a new one?
I don't know.
You could get these. Elon Musk developed.
You're the same guy that was talking about. These guys are smarter than anybody else out there, and they have all these new innovative ways to do things. So create a
that
windshield.
Doesn't mean there's a way yet to do that. So look, if they could create that, and if they're working on a way to do that, then everyone, I don't think anybody would say no. But for now that they don't have that, there's not a windshield wiper that's able to keep up with a car going 180 miles an hour with pouring down rain.
Let me ask you a question.
You just can't do it.
Let me ask you a question. And I don't know if you know the answer to this or not. How long has the Daytona been around? Since what year?
I think yesterday was the 67th running.
Okay. When they did the third race in Daytona, which would have been, in the 60s, right? 70s,
yeah.
Wherever that puts you math-wise, and it rained, did they stop or did they race?
They stopped.
They didn't stop.
They absolutely stopped.
They didn't stop back then.
You talk about technology. They had no technology back then. The tires, they raced. No, they didn't race.
They raced.
They don't race when it's pouring down rain. They never have.
When NASCAR first started, they stopped the race if it was raining.
If it was pouring down rain, these guys couldn't see. Hell yeah, they stopped the race.
No.
Yeah, I told you.
I find that hard to believe.
If you're playing football in the NFL like you did, and you're playing in Green Bay on the frozen tundra, and the field's frozen, and they say that everybody's got to go out there and wear flats, you guys are going to be sliding all over the place. Number one, it's not going to be safe. And number two, it's going to be crappy to watch. It's watch Dancing with the Stars. You guys are going to be going back and forth, sliding back and forth. Nobody wants to watch that crap. Nobody wants to see big, tall, fat dudes sliding around.
But they do.
No, they don't.
Yes, they do. In the snow, you don't have any kind of traction, and you watch games.
You just told me you put on different tires when the snow game, so you had traction.
Okay, but it doesn't. I mean, it's the same thing. If I were to play with nothing, the deeper the traction goes, it's actually
better.
It's actually better to play with those flats than it is to play with cleats.
But you still, no one's wanting to watch you guys slide around.
But they did.
No,
it's the NFC Championship. This is the Super Bowl. They would watch.
If they're going at Daytona 500, if these cars are going slow,
I'm not suggesting. Yes, they do. I'm not suggesting you do this for every race. I'm suggesting for your big races, when it rains, they create a way for them to continue to keep their ratings. That's all. Well, this is not going to be one of those things where they have to generate it and we're going to watch it every time. No, that would be bad for the product.
You keep mentioning ratings. Let me tell you something from a guy who has run radio stations where ratings were our livelihood every month, and you worked on radio with the same way, where we had financial benefits tied to ratings, and so we understand that ratings game. But listen, you keep mentioning ratings with this NASCAR issue, and first of all, we talked about this earlier. The ratings in NASCAR as a whole, not just one race, but as a whole, the ratings in NASCAR over the past 20 years are significantly down, right? Now,
they went from 18 million in 2002, 2003 to 6 million.
Yeah, whatever it is.
I don't know what the rating. We haven't figured out what the ratings are.
Yeah, last night they put up, but whatever it is, it's definitely down. Everyone admits that. NASCAR knows that.
It's down 30%.
But the duels on Thursday night were up 12%. So who knows what this race did? We'll find out. And your point on talking about the ratings were, when there's a race, obviously the ratings will be higher. When you're watching interviews for 5 hours or you're watching last year's race, the ratings can go down. But what I'm telling you is when it comes to this issue, in my opinion, if I'm NASCAR, ratings are probably, if I'm going to give you the top 5 reasons why we're racing or not racing in the rain, ratings are going to probably be towards the bottom of that 5 because safety is going to be number 1.
Of course.
100%. So safety is going to be number 1.
That's always going to be number 1.
Yep. And then number 2, just like in the NFL, when you have to go to owners with different cost is going to be a huge factor. And you can sit there and shrug it off all you want.
I am talking for the one-off race.
It wouldn't be for one-off because number 1, like we said, the road races, they're starting to do that now, right?
But they already have the tires for them.
But you don't go through tires on a road race like you do in these big tracks where you're
so you have to put 2 instead of 1.
I don't know. Like I said, I'm not a coach. I don't know how many numbers of tires they use, but I know that it would be a lot more on these super speedways. But the cost is a factor. The safety would be a factor. Ratings to me would be 4 or 5 on the list because here's why. Their rate. Look, I'll give you
money is always going to be number 1.
Well, then these owners not wanting to spend money on these tires are going to be a
besides safety. Safety will be number 1, and then money is going to be number 2.
Okay,
you're going to lose viewership if you turn it off. I'm not tuning back in if it's a 4-hour delay. If it's a 30-minute delay, maybe. Right.
Yeah, the casual fan.
That's who they're trying to capture. They're trying to get 12 more million people to watch. The casual fan is who they're missing.
The casual fan is the guy like you who's not going to watch every race anyway. You're not going to watch.
But I'm going to watch the Daytona.
You might have watched some of it. You wouldn't have sat there and watched all 4 or 5.
I would have had it on the TV.
But you weren't going to be locked in. My point is,
ratings don't care if you're locked in or not. They care if you're watching, if your TV's on that channel, or if it's not. They don't care how involved you are with it. Is your TV on that channel? Yes, ratings click.
What I'm saying is, if you're a casual NASCAR fan like yourself, who's probably not watching these races anyway, ratings are down the list of things that are important. And here's another reason, because they're making money.
I'm not watching most races, but I am watching the Daytona, the Super Bowl, the buildup, the big races.
Okay. And you're watching it and you're saying, but what I'm saying to you is there's a hell of a lot more NASCAR fans who are sitting through the rain delay. Hell, I would say I'm a average NASCAR fan. I sat through the whole damn thing yesterday. Every interview, every this, every that, every time we thought the rain was gone, watching those damn. Here's another piece of technology that just kind of off the topic. And I was thinking about this yesterday while I was watching this, because I did think, why the hell can't they run in the rain? And I, but I did say it has to be safety, whatever the purpose is. But here's the other thing, and I know it's come a long way, but here's something that I was thinking. Why can't they come up with a way to dry these damn tracks quicker? Because they've got these trucks, these big, garbage truck looking things driving the track
to dry
them. And I'm thinking, I don't know what the answer to that is either, but that to me would save a bunch of time. Like they spend just as much time drying the damn track because they have to for safety purposes. Is there a way to not dry these damn things faster? Like you would think with technology, whether it's, I know football fields or you have heated coils under. I don't know what that answer is.
The only answer to that, it's not going to be driving faster to blow it. It's going to be having more of them.
Or is there some type of under the track, like I said, football, they have coils that heat the field or drain the field, whatever. I don't know. Again, I'm certainly not an asphalt expert.
How about
NASCAR expert.
How about this? I'm gonna give you one that's super simple.
To me, that there's rain's gone, and these trucks are driving around there for an hour to dry it, and as they have to. But I was thinking yesterday, it's like, damn, you would think they have a quicker way to dry these things.
Who makes tarps? What company makes tarps? Whoever it is. Let's just say for argument's sake,
Lowe's.
It's Lowe's tarps.
Yep.
If you're Lowe's and you can make a tarp to advertise, then when it rains, then I'm going to put this giant tarp over the track, right? Or multiple of them to cover the track so it doesn't rain on the track. Why not do that?
I mean, again, it's funny that Frank and I are doing a show here where we're trying to come up with these inventions.
Solutions.
Yeah. Like this is perfectly a good example of what we talk about when we are at the bar having drinks. You guys are just now getting to hear it.
You should hear us when we're drinking.
Yeah,
this is a whole lot better.
We would be drawing maps about how the truck needs to do this. But yeah, look, if they could figure that out where they had some type of tarp that was behind a truck that unrolled over certain, hell, I don't know. There just has to be a way.
Oh no, here's what the answer is. There's not enough people that give a damn about NASCAR to care.
Man, I would disagree with that.
The ratings should prove it.
With that. NASCAR's been a long time. They make a lot of money.
Well, they make a lot of money. If they make a lot of money, then buy some damn tires. You can't use both arguments.
Well, no, the teams are the ones that have to pay for the tires, not NASCAR. So if you're an owner and you're putting one or two drivers out there,
then you're not qualified to be in this league.
I mean, look,
if everybody's making money and your team that's going to race in this, then you're disqualified from the race.
Not everybody's making money.
Then you're disqualified from the race.
Just like in any other sport. You've got a team, like a small market team, like the Pittsburgh Pirates, who struggle every year. They've never signed a guy in.
So you're not going to win.
But
you're going to race.
Well,
I mean,
no one wants.
Hornets have no chance. They still play.
And the NBA ratings are in the toilet.
Okay.
Because the product sucks. So why are you wanting a product that's now starting to come back with NASCAR? Why are you going to dampen that by having dudes slipping and sliding on the damn track?
You're doing it one time, bud.
It would be one time.
It is one time for the big races.
Okay, well, that's more than once. Daytona has 2 races by itself.
Okay, that's not going to rain both times.
How do you know?
If it does, then
if you can see the future on weather, then we can make a hell of a lot of money. What's it going to do?
If it does, then we do it both times.
Well, then what's the cost of that, and what's the safety of that? And again, we keep.
I'm not going to argue this. I'm not going to argue the safety. If NASCAR can say that it's an unsafe product and guys will die, right? Then that's one thing. I'm not going to argue that. But I guarantee you, we talked to Denny Hamlin, Joey Logano, whoever it is, Mark Martin, whoever we talk to, or a crew chief, Steve Letarte, or whoever it might be, we talk to those guys and say, hell yeah, we'd race in that.
I think if they knew it was safe, I think every driver would.
It's as safe as the driver makes it.
Not necessarily. If it's raining and you can't see in front of you, you can't. That has nothing. Number one, it's not just the driver; it's also the 40 other drivers out there
you
have to worry about.
You're right. So, guess what? It's the same. It's the same risk every time they go out. It's just a different element.
Well, it's not the same risk because
when
you're racing and there's no weather, there's no rain, you're racing. That's one thing. When you're racing that same way and now it's raining,
you're not racing the same way.
And then what's the why not?
Because you have to slow down.
But you're still going 100.
I don't know.
I don't know. How slow?
I don't know.
They're going to slow these cars.
I don't know, but it's going to be competitive because they're going to be going in a circle.
You have been. I think you have been around a racetrack in a car.
Yes, I have.
Whether you drove it yourself or.
I mean, it depends on what racetrack it is. Yeah, but there's different angles.
Yeah, but these big ones are, the slopes and the corners, whatever. So could you imagine with these 40 cars out there and it raining like hell? Number one, you've got that issue, right? I mean, when they're going around them corners, they're made to suck you right around, right?
At 200 miles an hour, they do, yeah.
And they do. They draw you. I've driven not 200 miles.
You slowly climb and grab.
Yeah,
because of the climb and the speed.
If there's water running down that slope because it's pouring down rain, you've got 40 cars. Just imagine what you're getting off the car in front of you. And then again, even what gets under the car, I just think that.
I better slow down.
By the way, I want to make sure I'm clear. If they could figure it out, I'm in. I would have much rather watched that race yesterday in real time than wait 5 hours. But
you're saying
I don't see why it would happen.
You're saying two different things.
How it could happen.
You're saying you're not going to watch because it's going to be a bad product, and now you're saying you're in.
I said if they could figure out a way to do it and it not hurt the product, I'm in. If you're going to tell me they can race in the rain with the cars and go 100 miles an hour, I'm like, I'm out. I don't want to watch that.
But why? They might be going 100 miles an hour the entire time.
I don't know. I mean, down the front or on the big tracks like Daytona. I don't see how they're going to going too slow is actually dangerous too.
I think by doing that, you actually increase the skill level of who wins versus just letting the car go out there and run and everybody does the same thing because the car is built similarly. Now I have to put in my talent and also not just talent, my risk factor.
So let me ask you this, how do you practice for that? How do you, because you want these guys to know how to drive in the rain.
Move to Seattle.
Just put a track in Seattle.
Move to Seattle. Move to Seattle.
Well, there's a reason there's not a racetrack in Seattle. Well, there's many reasons. Number one, and
there is race cats. There's not they're not NASCAR.
Yeah, not this. Not this. Yeah, NASCAR I don't see going over too well out there. Not just because
it's not going to be an everyday thing. I keep
it doesn't matter. Even if it's
for this product. If you were to tell me, let me say this for the last time, nice and calmly. If this is the Super Bowl of your event and you have an opportunity to race or to sit for 5 hours, or whatever the weather's going to make you do, you should race if you're allowed to. if it's safe.
So there you have to finish the sentence.
You should race if it's safe.
Everyone would agree with you when you say you should race, but then you have to say if it's safe and if it doesn't dilute the product. You listen. Here's the thing. The product is ratings. The product is the reason. The brand.
This is why I get louder.
Well, sit back. You don't pop in the microphone. The product and the brand is NASCAR. The product and the brand is the NFL. These teams, these cars are the product. You in the NFL, you don't want to do anything to dilute the product. You're double
arguing here.
How am I double arguing?
Because one point you're saying I would watch if they allowed to.
Finish the sentence. If it was safe, and if what was the other thing I said? If it did not,
is it better than not? Is it better than not watching and sitting and waiting for 6 hours? Because nobody's going to tune in then. Only the people that are diehard fans. You've lost every person out there, every one of them that's a on the fence list watcher. You've lost every one of those guys. If you race, I'm still watching because you know why? You're actually racing. I'm turning on to see what you're supposed to be doing. That's like saying, it's racing.
That's like saying if we had to have a football game,
if it's competitive,
and it was a pouring down, whatever.
Everybody has to do it the same.
And we said, look, we're not going to tackle this game. We're going to go flag football.
Somebody's going to win.
No one's watching that.
Somebody's going to win. Who's going to win?
We could do a coin toss right now.
Will somebody win? Will somebody win? And are you going to watch? Yes, because you know why? Both teams have to play under the same conditions. And if you're playing under the same,
did you watch the NFL Pro Bowl this year?
No, because it's flag football.
Exactly. You know why? Because it ain't football. It ain't the product. That is not what people pay for. That is not the brand. That is not the product. People are not going to watch these NASCAR drivers racing tricycles, racing freaking Honda Accords with your 1979 Honda Accord that I grew up driving. They're not watching that. They're not going to dilute the product, especially at a time when they're trying to advance the product with younger drivers, more aggressive drivers, and all this. They're not going to dilute the product. NASCAR is about cars on these tracks. It's about cars going fast. The risk of the big one, whatever. They're not going to take the super speedway, a super speedway, by the way, and make it a freaking Harris Teeter parking lot where these dudes have to go 10 miles an hour and be careful on the turn. And then no one wants to watch that.
Of course.
If there was, there'd be a league.
Of course, if there was an option to watch real football, right, versus flag football, I'm watching real football. But if the option is watch no football or flag football, if I tuned in to watch, I'm watching flag football.
But you didn't watch Pro Bowl, which is flag football.
I didn't watch it because in general, I didn't watch it. I didn't tune into that. If I had tuned into that and they say, we're not going to play it until 4 hours later, I'm not coming back if I had tuned into that, right? I've already started to watch and they're playing and I went to go watch that event, which is like what's watching NASCAR in the first place is the equivalent of watching flag football. In general, if I decided to go out there and turn that in and they said, no, we're not going to do it for 5 hours, I'm not coming back.
Well, then there's going to be people that don't come back. Listen, in any sport or any broadcast, there's people that come and go during a show, no doubt about it. But my point is, I can guarantee you the ones that did come back weren't going to watch a diluted product, and you're hurting your brand. You don't. And listen, the brand is everything. The brand is everything. And you do not want to do anything, whether it be restaurant business, whether it be racing. You never want to do anything to dilute the brand. So did not. You just did. And that could dilute the brand.
You just did.
If they figure out a way not to, I'm in.
You just diluted it by turning it off for 5
hours. You delayed what ended up being a great race. You didn't dilute anything.
Yes, you did.
No,
you diluted your yes, you did. You diluted the people that are going to watch it. The friends,
you might have lost
the friends watchers, the fringe people, the fringe fans.
I'll tell you this. I know a lot of fringe watchers that let's just use that league we're in. I'm in 2 of those leagues, 2 NASCAR leagues, with a lot of fringe NASCAR guys who joined the league to kind of give them a reason to start watching it. I was getting texts last night from everybody. Holy crap, you watching this? They were all watching, and they have kids and other things to do during the day, and they didn't sit there and watch like I did. I mean, I sat there and watched all the interviews and stuff because I was at a party, and that's what we did. But they all stayed tuned for it, and guess what? It was worth it because the last 20, 30 laps were incredible, and it had everything you want. It had racing, it had the big wrecks. Do
you know what would have happened if they raced when it was raining?
No idea.
They would have watched it, and they would have said, "Oh, are you watching these cars slide up the track and crash because it's raining and they're going fast and they're competitive?" They'd said the same thing. They don't know what they're watching.
It depends on, like I said,
those same fringe fans don't know what they're watching.
You can't say that because you don't know what that's going to look like. You have no idea what them racing.
It's going to look like 485, more competitive.
You want to watch that?
If
When it's raining, you're going to drive out to 45 and sit on the side under a bridge and watch these cars?
If it's competitive and they're going to, you already said earlier, if it's competitive, we're watching.
I said if in NASCAR, if it's competitive and it doesn't dilute the product, meaning if it's competitive at 180 miles in the rain, I'm down. But if it's competitive at 120 miles an hour on one of those speedways, nobody wants to watch it. And the drivers, by the way, I will guarantee you this. And again, we're going to talk to, like I said, we're going to reach out to Joey Logano and Denny Hamlin, some of the guys that we deal with. But I guarantee you the drivers would say, if I could drive in the rain and have to go 120 miles an hour, or I could wait 6 hours and race.
You don't know that.
I guarantee they'd all say, I'd rather wait.
I guarantee you they don't.
I bet they say, I want to go. I'd rather wait.
I guarantee they don't.
They don't want to stay. They're not in there to go 120.
They're in there to race.
They're in there to go 200 miles an hour.
No, you know what they're in there for? They're in there to collect a check and win.
They're in there to win. And they
can win going 120, just like they can win going 220.
You're underestimating the fact these NASCAR dudes on speedways like this, especially a legendary track and they want to be able to race. They want to show their stuff. They want to go 200 miles an hour.
You're going to do that. You're going to do.
Should we put blinkers on that, like a left blinker now every time they have to blinker on the curve? Or they don't want to do that.
I don't even know what you're talking about.
I'm saying we got windshield wipers. Now we're going to have blinkers to the damn cars.
You sound like my wife arguing right now. You're talking about going in circles and something doesn't even relevant.
You're wanting to add all these things to the windshield wipers.
I'm not wanting to add anything. I want to watch a race.
You're saying that just put the best drivers in a car, let them go 10 miles an hour because it's competitive.
Now you're definitely putting words in my mouth.
120 miles an hour.
Okay, if that's what they go, I don't know what they go. I don't know how fast they go.
Well, in the rain, nobody knows because they don't do it because
they do it. They just don't do it at that race.
They don't do it at any races except road courses.
They do it.
And road courses, if they have done it. They go about 80, 90, 100 miles an hour.
They just
last year on a road course. Not on
it wasn't a road course.
Yeah, it was. 100% it was. They have not done it on super speedway, and they won't. And not yet.
Maybe I'm mistaken. Maybe it was a road course.
Yeah, that's where they brought out the new rain tires. Goodyear.
I will give you that. I don't know. I don't know if it's a road course.
Super speedway because they obviously feel that safety, number one, which we both agree there. Safety is obviously the reason they're not doing.
Nobody's arguing that.
If they had, but my point is, even if they had the safety part figured out, but the cars can only go 130 miles an hour. They're not going to do it. It dilutes the product. You like watching Daytona to watch these cars go slow around a damn track in the rain.
Let me ask you another question, just using common sense. What's safer, going 120 or 220 when you get in an accident?
They'll go 200 miles.
In all the Hans devices that they have and all the things. We just saw a guy go backwards in the air, flying like he was in a helicopter and landing, walked out of it.
Look, NASCAR, these cars, we talked about this earlier, are very, very safe. However, people still get killed. People still get hurt. And
people get hurt and killed walking down the street too. You're putting yourself at risk when you go out there.
Okay, but when you are elevating the risk, possibly due to the fact you can't see out of the windshield while going fast, that's a problem. These dudes aren't going to want, or NASCAR's not going to put them at jeopardy. And then if the solution is, we got tires, but now you're going to have to go 120 miles an hour, which is going to be slower, blah, 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 blah. These guys ain't going to want to do it. It dilutes the product. It's not going to be what you want to watch.
You can't answer for them. I'd like to see.
We can ask them, but my gut would tell me that these guys would much rather go 200 around.
It might not even be physically possible to do what they're doing after looking at some of the things, and because of, I don't know. Again, I have no idea how downdraft works and the weight of the car. That might be the answer, right? And what we're having an argument about is completely irrelevant because it might not be logistically possible or physically possible for a car that's built to go to built with speed to keep it down, to go that fast and keep it down. So I don't know.
And that's why I'm saying
if that's the answer, then that's safety, right? I'm not arguing that. Yeah. I don't know that answer.
And to me, that's why I think visibility. The tires,
it's not about visibility.
To me, it is. The tires, I bet you they could figure out some type of game plan. But when you're going fast,
it's the weight of the car and the draft.
And the NASCAR weighs about 3,400 pounds. We talked about it's like 3,400, where the F1 cars were like 1,800. Yep. But the visibility thing to me would be the one that would be the hardest to figure out. Again, I'm not a rocket scientist. Don't pretend to be. But to me, just knowing when I'm driving my own truck at 50 miles an hour and it's pouring down rain with the wipers flying, I can't see. When you triple that speed, I don't know how you have a windshield wiper that can hang on, or keep it clean enough where every time it goes, you're still getting hammered by rain.
Let me ask you another question.
By the way, let me just make this point before I forget it, because we're talking about fringe NASCAR fans.
Yeah.
You're saying that they wouldn't watch here, there, they would have turned off yesterday, and I don't disagree with all that, but what yesterday's race and the delay, look at their Super Bowl, look what it has created. It's created
two friends NASCAR guys
arguing like we're Richard Petty and freaking Rusty Wallace up here, that like it's made two French dudes get passionate about something with racing. So again, if you're NASCAR,
you're Jeff Gordon, I'll be Jimmy Johnson. How's
that? Yeah. I'll be
the Rainbow Warrior.
I'll be
you don't want to be the Rainbow Warrior?
No, I like Jeff Gordon. Jeff Gordon.
You can ride. You can be the Rainbow Warrior.
I'll take Dale Earnhardt. I'll be number 3 or man, off topic. That did you see the Dale Jr.'s new car yesterday? So Junior,
no, I didn't watch because it was, why?
It was raining.
Because it was raining.
Yeah, well, Junior's car evidently has these crazy windshields that deflect rain. So
what?
I'm teasing, but it was the first time that Junior Motorsports has rolled a Cup Series car out, and they had Chris Stapleton partnered with them, and it was the number 40 car, beautiful car. It had whiskey or a Traveler whiskey, which is Chris Stapleton's whiskey, on the side of the car, the hood of the car.
See, those are the things you watch for.
It looked great. And Stapleton Jr. said that Stapleton was so in on this, like he wasn't just there because his name was on there. Like in the duels, he was texting him like, "Why aren't we changing tires? Why aren't we doing this?" He said he sat in the pit box with him the whole time.
Did he ask why we weren't racing when it was raining?
No, but here's what NASCAR could do. When you got a guy like that sitting at the track and it's raining, let him do a little concert in the rain.
I don't give a damn what it is, but you got to keep us entertained. You talking about some dude for 4 hours that nobody knows about. And what they did 4 years ago, I'm sorry, that's not going to interest me.
Well, I just got to believe that if NASCAR, and we'll move on because we don't have much time.
This dead horse.
We beat it to it. But like I said, the theory itself, you got to believe NASCAR is looking at some solution because like I said, in certain tracks, especially when it's the first race of the year, and what's crazy, it didn't rain all week in Daytona. Like the duels, nothing. It was nice.
Mother Nature.
And then bam, it's bad luck.
That's why you make rain tires.
Finish real quick with little college basketball. Duke continues to roll.
How good did they look?
They're good, man. Now Stanford's not very good, but man, Duke's figuring it out at the right time.
What's crazy? It's funny you say that. I'm not going to cut you off, but going to the West Coast, East Coast thing and having to travel, it's crazy. And you're right. Stanford's not very good. So I don't know if this is
solid,
but I mean, it's not a great ending. They beat some good teams.
Yeah.
They play when they had to travel over there. A West Coast team traveling East Coast is so much more difficult than an East Coast team traveling West Coast. And having played football as creatures of habit, especially for kids, there has to be some sort of solution for that. If they're going to continue these super conferences and have California play in the ACC, that's ridiculous.
Well, they almost need to do it like when we were booking,
or Stanford, excuse me.
Stanford. When
any team from California, any team from the West Coast, Arizona State, I don't care who it is. If you're having a West Coast team having to travel east, it is a huge disadvantage from a competitive standpoint, knowing that our clocks that are used to being up at 7 or 6 or whatever it is and being creatures of habit, there has to be some sort of way that is economically feasible for them to be able to do that. Because I heard the answer, some of the questions to this answer were, well, just have them come out a week earlier, during midterms are done and whatever it might be. No, I mean, you can't have kids being away from school for that long. And let's be honest. I mean, the money's going to cost too much to bring a whole team over and have them stay for a week and make a East Coast trip.
Well, but I mean, that's really the solution, though, would be.
No, the solution is find a different conference.
Or you just route it like we do concerts in the concert business, or like they do in the NBA. When you come to the East Coast, you are here for a week. And listen, the money side of it, especially in college sports right now, like with the NIL money and all this money, there's money. So I don't want to hear that. Like in NASCAR, I can say, look, if you're a team owner, you're struggling to get 2 cars out there. But in college sports,
those are 2 different types of monies, though.
No, but what I'm saying,
the NIL money doesn't equate. It's not the same as the university money.
Correct. But the universities, what I'm saying is they're not lacking for money, and they're making tons of it.
Correct.
Now the players are making tons of money. So there's no excuse from my standpoint to not route it. So you go to
they don't want to give up money to do that.
Well, here's the deal. I mean, like you said, if you're and it's different because we're talking student athletes, which I
Mhm.
mean, I don't even really know if you can call them.
These
that
kids go
anymore.
for 1 year.
Yeah, but if
I mean,
that's-
the funny thing is in a lot of these times they go for the year, whether they're eligible or not. I mean, it really doesn't
Well, I
matter
mean,
because they're done with school.
yeah, once basketball season's
Yeah.
over, a lot of these guys are on to train for the NBA draft, or
They're there
whatever.
because they have to be.
Yeah, and listen,
I don't know what the answer is, but it's not. My point to that is that the West Coast teams traveling east, Stanford, Cal, Arizona State, U of A, Arizona, if they're playing and they're home, they're a much better team than if they have to. Something has to be done from a competitive standpoint, with the NCAA or whoever is going to be the governing body to make these decisions, so that's a competitive, fair advantage for those teams on the West Coast.
Yeah, and like you said, as they're making these super conferences, which they're not done yet, they're only going to get bigger.
But eventually there's going to be 4 conferences. It's going to be Northeast, Southwest.
Yeah,
right?
and as they make these conferences, whatever they are and whatever they consist of, the reason they're making these bigger conferences are money.
Yeah.
So money should not be an issue on routing
That's
the team
right.
for a week.
That's right.
That's part of the game. So you would think that they would figure that out. One game I want to touch on, and again, I know we got to go, and but Auburn, Alabama this weekend, 1-2. Auburn in Alabama. Auburn coming off a loss at home to Florida, where they got kind of whipped.
Really wasn't close.
No, Auburn. That's why I think Auburn's the best team in the country. That's why I think they kept it.
They proved a lot.
They're good. You win at Alabama. Alabama's good, and Auburn is just a veteran, tough team. And
Auburn jumped out early in the game. They were up to 14-point lead. They got out on fire. Alabama closed it.
Yep.
Auburn separated. Broom had an amazing game.
Yep.
Maybe one of the top 2-3 players in college basketball. Doesn't mean he's gonna be a great pro, but
no, he won't be a pro. I don't think.
It's amazing to me how you see a guy dominate a league, and I know he's a senior versus freshman and things like that, and the man, bodies take over, things like that, but he had a hell of a game, and he's a hell of a player.
Well, and you just said it, and this is the key. If you're lucky enough in college, basketball in particular, football too, but in basketball in particular, if you're lucky enough to have a junior or a senior like him, who's number one, maybe the best player in the country, number 2, a great leader, number 3, he's playing on one leg, he's playing hurt. When you have that veteran leadership, most of these teams will have it. I mean, Duke has a sophomore, maybe a junior.
They have a team full of the most talented freshmen and sophomores out there. Yeah.
And when you have that, it's great. However, when it comes time where you really need somebody,
it's called toughness. That's the toughness that I talk about that teams develop that win championships, right?
Yeah.
Auburn is a tough basketball team. They weren't able to beat Duke, and I know everybody's gonna say, well, they came to Cameron Indoor, which is a tough place to play.
Yep.
Flag had a great game. Auburn did jump out to an early lead in that game, but Duke clawed his way back and showed a lot of what we're talking about. So I think that stands the test of time, but freshmen can be tough too. And Cooper Flag, Cooper Flag is a competitive SOB, and they have 4 or 5 guys on that team that are as athletic and as talented as any freshman in the country.
And they're the tallest team in college basketball.
They're big, they're physical.
Big. And another team, Houston, this weekend.
And they're deep. They have a lot of depth too.
They are. And look, Shire's doing a good job. Houston, who has been very good for the last few years in basketball, another tough team with some good vets on it, a good mix of young guys too. But watching them play a game, like I watched them play Arizona, I believe it was.
Yeah.
Watching Houston play, and then when you watch Auburn play or you watch Duke play, or Wisconsin for that matter, who went on the road and beat Purdue at Purdue, which is a huge win. And Wisconsin's playing great right now. But when you watch Houston play against these other teams, it's kind of like watching old man basketball.
Yeah.
Like they play great defense. The game's a little slower. And it's
possessions are valued. It's not up and down.
I don't mind it because I love that kind of basketball, but it's so different. So it'll be interesting to see as we get
what style,
because Houston, was in the championship
and that's what Jay Billis would say. And I agree with him 100%. The team that wins the tournament necessarily isn't the best team. It has the ability to adapt the best to each style and win games that maybe doesn't fit your style the best, right? I can go win a street fight, but I can also win a up and down game, right? So the teams that have the ability to do that, and typically that's point guard. The team that nobody's talking about right now, and I'm telling you, they're going to be the team that nobody wants to play, and they play in a bad conference. Clemson right now has exactly what you talked about with Auburn.
Yep.
They may not have the size or the depth that Auburn does or Alabama does or Duke does, but they have the toughness, and they have some guys out there that are getting after it, and they're playing. Maybe they're peaking a little bit too early, but they're playing right now. Nobody in America would want to play them right now.
Yeah, they're tough, man. I mean, like you said, they're not going to out athlete anybody. They're not faster. They're not going to shoot the three.
Is it Brad Brunell? Is it Brunell's coach there? Who's the coach there? Isn't it Brad Brunell?
Yeah. I mean, I know his name. I can't remember how you pronounce it, but yeah, the Clemson's dangerous, and especially coming out of the ACC, where, I mean, look, last week they beat Duke at home and they beat Carolina at home. You go through history, that would have been the biggest week they've had in college or Clemson basketball history.
They just wore somebody out yesterday too.
NC State, I think.
Oh my, they
yeah. I mean,
shitted them.
Listen, they're good, and you're right. There'll be a team in the tournament that will be a tough out. If you had to pick right now, not knowing seedings and all that stuff, obviously, but if you had to pick a final game right now and a winner right now,
national championship, it's going to be Auburn Duke.
And who you got winning?
I got Duke. I'm taking Duke. I think they're too talented. They'll have played together for an entire season. They match up very, very well against Auburn, and I think that they have the most talent. I don't know if they're the toughest, like you said, they're younger, but I think the one position that will be the biggest factor is like when Shire played with Singler and Nolan Smith, and when they won the championship, he was the difference maker. Cooper Flagg's going to be the guy that everybody's trying to take away, but the other point guard,
Knapple's
going to be the difference of whether they win or lose a national championship in those big games.
Yeah, I mean, obviously Duke and Auburn would be up there. The team that I'm watching right now that, I mean, they can score and they can shoot, and they're playing really good right now is Wisconsin.
Oh, I thought you were going to say Florida.
Well, Florida is another one.
Florida would be the one team that could beat anybody.
Yeah, I agree. And
they could beat anybody.
And I hate taking a team like Wisconsin because, like I said, you just when you think of the Big Ten,
that doesn't equate.
You just think
it doesn't equate today's basketball.
They can play, man. They're good, and going on the road and beating Purdue and beating them like and put up over 90 points, and had one of their best players thrown out in the first 5 or 6 minutes for what they called a flagrant 2.
Playing against rivalry teams that you're used to and you're familiar with is a lot different than playing teams that you don't see very often, right? The same type of guys they recruited. You play them twice a year. Their strengths, their weaknesses. Wisconsin playing Duke, Wisconsin playing Auburn, Wisconsin playing Alabama. They'll get out athleted. Yeah. They'll get out rebounded.
I would think so, but tell you what, Purdue's got some athletes, man, and Wisconsin gave it to them, and they've been playing like that. So they've got some really good young players too. So Wisconsin's a team I'd be interested to watch out for. But thank you guys for joining us today. Thursday night, United States hockey game. Trust me, tune in if you didn't. I'm hoping they play Canada. Regardless of who they play, they're going to be going up against teams that have future Hall of Famers. All the teams are
locking arms, baby. We're locking arms.
Thursday night, hopefully it's Canada that we're playing, and we'll talk about that on Friday. Big D, thank you for everything over there in the production chair. And Frank, thank you.
Yep.
Stay tuned Thursday night. I think it's at 8:00.
And thank you.
And by the way, some of us had to get a hold of us, and I know we have it on the scroll here, but you've got DJ at suitupsports.com, Frank at suitupsports.com. Our website is suitupsports.com. You can follow us on social media. Again, you see it on the scroll there, but we'd love to hear from you, whether it be ideas or criticism.
I want to know why they don't race in the rain.
Well, yeah, any of you that happen to be watching that watch NASCAR, load us up with comments. But again, DJ at suitupsports.com or Frank at suitupsports.com. We'd love to hear from you. Thanks again for watching. We'll see you Friday.